There's a good chance you spend a good part of your life behind the wheel of an automobile, and you might even ask yourself how you got there. But if you're carrying a firearm for self-defense, you need to think about how to deal with that in the vehicle, and is there a chance that you may have to deploy the firearm while you're in the vehicle? So let's explore that a little bit today. First off, let's talk about just keeping the gun in our holster. I think pretty much every state law at this point requires you to wear a seatbelt, and even if they don't require it, I think it's a great idea because it keeps you planted in your seat, and that keeps you in control of the vehicle. The problem with a seatbelt, if I'm carrying a concealing garment, if I'm wearing a concealing garment like a vest or a jacket, is it pins this against my body, so if I need to access my firearm and it's back here, that becomes a problem. So I used to wear a vest all the time as a concealing garment, and I just made it part of my ritual that when I got in the car and I put on the seatbelt, that I would clear this out of it. Just takes a half a second to do, and now if I need to access the pistol, I do it just like I would any other time, and realize that because we're in a tight environment and we're sitting down, putting our legs out horizontally in front of us, that you need to be careful of the muzzle. It gets very easy to cross your legs with the muzzle, so something for you to think about. So once again, just as part of my ritual of getting in the car, you put the seatbelt on, and without even thinking about it, I clear this out of the way, and then I go about my way. And that allows me access to the firearm pretty much like it would if this weren't even there. I find that if I'm not wearing a concealing garment like this, but just my shirt out over it, the seatbelt isn't pinning that, so I don't have to do anything extra. So if it's just a shirt over the top of your holster, not a big deal. If you've got a concealing garment like a vest or a jacket, take the second to clear it out of your seatbelt before you continue on. Some people think, well, I want quicker access to my pistol, and so maybe having it in the holster is not the place for it. And it became popular for a while to take a firearm and place it under the left thigh, and that way it's quickly available in the event of a carjacking or something similar. The key was that you take your left foot and you pin it against the floor so that the gun is secured under the leg. Now the reason this is important, if you may have heard of the 1986 FBI shooting in Miami, where the stakeout squad was looking at these bank robbers, and they finally got into a rolling gunfight. And two of the agents drew their pistols while they were still driving and set them on the seat. And when the bad guys finally stopped their cars, there was a little bit of collision, and those two guns went flying. One of them was found up under the dashboard. So leaving a gun loose around in the vehicle, not a good idea. So some people, I don't know who originated it, but it was pretty industry-wide to put it under the left leg. You don't want it under the right one because that one's moving around, but the left leg we can keep solid. It stays pushed against the floor, so even under extreme driving conditions, it's going to stay there. And then once again, if I need it, it's quickly there. Now the problem is, where's the muzzle going to go? And it's going to be exceedingly hard not to cross yourself. You know, if I just pull this gun out now, it's going to cross the top of my calf. So I need to be very careful about where the muzzle is. And under exciting circumstances, that's probably not going to happen. Another option is a dedicated holster for the car. And now I've got a pistol here, and it's readily accessible. And I don't have any of the issues of, it's hard to get to, or I'm going to cross myself. It's just right there. And that's an option. The problem is, what do I do with this gun when I get in and out of the vehicle? So do I take my gun out of my holster, put it in there when I get in the car, and then when it's time to leave, I have to remember to take this out and put it back in my holster? I think that's asking for trouble. An alternative is to have a dedicated gun for this, so I leave the one that's in the holster and just have this gun here just for the car gun. But I'm really against leaving guns in vehicles, and you know, a car is just not a secure place to store a gun. If you really felt that that was the way to go, then you might want to carry a handkerchief or something to drape over it so that it's not visible. Also imagine, you know, getting pulled over for a traffic violation and a police officer seeing that out in the open, and is that going to make for a tense and interesting exchange? So it's available. I'm not sure of how good an idea this is. Personally, I've been driving for a long time and carrying a gun for a big part of that, and I just keep my gun in my holster and I just practice accessing my gun from the holster while seated in the car. Also realize that sitting in the passenger seat makes things a little bit different because the seat belt's now buckled on the other side and it's strapped across you differently. So you want to try that out also if you spend any time as a passenger. So just some thoughts about using a gun in and around a vehicle. Give it a try. Use a dummy gun, or unload your firearm and verify a couple times that it is empty, and then see what it's like in various ways. Carrying it in your holster. What if you wear Appendix? And one of the issues I have with Appendix is when you're seated, that muzzle is pointed right at your femoral artery. And when are you going to likely have a discharge? When you're excitedly drawing your pistol. So is there the chance that when you go for your pistol here, you might get that unintentional discharge? It's possible. So is Appendix really what you want to do? There's pluses to it and there's minuses, certainly. One thing about Appendix is otherwise it's easy to get to because it's unencumbered by the seat belt and you're not leaning against it. So other than that, it's easy to draw. So once again, like anything else, go ahead and pick what you think is a good idea, but then test it in real situations. Yes, you have a nice holster, you have a nice pistol, and you're good at drawing it when you're standing still on the range. What is it like when you're seated in your car? What's it like to access your pistol when the seatbelt's on and you've got a covering garment? What's it like if you decide you're going to do the under the leg thing, or you're going to do a special car holster? What is it like to operate with the gun from there? What is it, okay, just having this holster is fine, but what are you used to? What are you supposed to do when you get out of the car? And is there the chance that somebody may see me do this? And they may not know who I am, and they may call 911. Next thing you know, the police are responding to a man with a gun thing because I'm handling my gun a lot. Also realize the more you handle the gun, the more chances of something going wrong, like an unintentional discharge. So the more you handle the gun, taking in and out of your holster and in and out of wherever you're keeping it in the car every time you get in and out, is not optimal. So once again, I think your best bet is keep it in the holster where you normally do, and then reassess if things get dicey. If all of a sudden I was in a situation where there was urban unrest, and I may need the chances of me needing my gun quickly are elevated, maybe I will change my mind and do something a little bit different at that point. Probably not, but maybe. Okay, so that's a couple of thoughts about carrying your gun in and around your car. I hope it was interesting. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'm Peter Burlingame of the Self-Defense Initiative. Thanks for watching. Be safe out there.